Hello, friends. Welcome to the Ancient Health Podcast, where East meets West. I'm your host, Dr. Chris Motley, and we want to talk about part 2 of Epstein-Barr virus. I want to discuss the history of Epstein-Barr virus and also discuss the problem of why Epstein-Barr virus can be so very hard to overcome because of its chronicity. That it is a virus that has been known never to go away, that you can never fully get rid of it. But why is that the case? How can it be a virus that sticks around for such a long time? So we're going to discuss the mechanisms of Epstein-Barr virus and how it can actually trick your own immune system to keep it hanging around. Yes, it can trick your immune system from actually destroying it, where it allows it to sit dormant so that it can reactivate later and cause sickness. It's battle of survival. So we want to talk about the history, the mechanism, and there are some very good researched herbals and nutrients that have been shown to actually help with the chronicity of Epstein-Barr virus. Can you fully get rid of Epstein-Barr virus? I am very wary, not wary, but very aware of that question, and I hesitate to say yes fully because I have seen patients that have gone down to zero and nearly zero with Epstein-Barr virus signals because they used the proper nutrition to help strengthen their body. And they also used homeopathics to actually help their body increase their immune system to help kill off a lot of infections. I've actually seen people that have had Hashimoto signals and thyroiditis, where Epstein-Barr virus with mono can attack the thyroid. I've actually seen those go into remission where they don't have Hashimoto's anymore. So there's probably many naturopaths out there and many doctors that practice functional medicine and integrative nutrition that would basically seen the same thing, and they could probably guide you through this. So I always say that whenever you're dealing with Epstein-Barr virus, that you need to research a very EBV literate doctor and one who's had a good success. Find out what their patients have said. Try to investigate. And I'm thankful that I've seen many of the Epstein-Barr virus patients that I've had do very well and actually have lab signals that are basically near zero. There are some that have been very stubborn, and I can't say I've healed every single one of them, but I do want to give you some light and shed some light on this subject because it can give you hope. I am very cautious about Epstein-Barr virus because my mom has had very severe Epstein-Barr virus. When you start to see Epstein-Barr viruses in the numbers of the 600s when it comes to checking out the antibodies towards Epstein-Barr virus. When you're above 600, you are in the mega range of Epstein-Barr virus. When you start to get above 100, you're supposed to be very infected. But my mom was over 600. That means that she's had it for a very long time, and it's spread throughout her cells and through our blood system. And it makes it very difficult to clean out. So I definitely know the firsthand experience of trying to help somebody that has that, especially a family member. But I myself have had markers for Epstein-Barr virus and cytomegalovirus. So let's discuss it. And I want us to look at it in the light of there are things you can do to actually help you clean your body out of this virus and actually give you strong support where you can actually feel like you can live a normal life. And I don't say that exaggerating. I've had patients that say they feel like they can live normal life. They have great energy. Their levels are dropping every time they go to the doctor. Some have had really, really low, near zero. And even some individuals who've had numbers of IgG, which is an immunoglobulin response, where it's basically a very low allergic response. It's not like an IgE where it's anaphylactic shock where you're going into hyperventilating. It's IgG where it's low-level allergy response, histamine response, where you feel the stuffiness of the nose, the headaches, the stuffy ears, the dry throat, coughing. Those are IgG responses. And I've seen individuals that have had moderate levels of IgG antibodies to Epstein-Barr virus and still live strong, happy, without any symptoms. Why is that? It all depends on, most of all, your emotional outlook on life. 2, the nutrients that you allow into your body. And 3, keeping the digestive and the gut area clean as possible. In no way, for anybody that's listening to this while you're driving or if you're watching, am I trying to say you are doing it wrong and you need to do it this way. That's not the key for this podcast. The key for this podcast is to look at the signs and symptoms If you do know you have Epstein-Barr virus, then these are some extra things that you can look into to add into your repertoire. If you don't know it, maybe you should go get tested, not only for Epstein-Barr virus, which is a type 4 herpes virus, but get tested for every herpes virus, which you can do, and see if they are there, because they create chronic fatigue syndrome. This is for awareness. This is for you to find out. It is not to be negative. It is for you to understand what you have so you don't live in fear. So please, guys, let's try to energize the body and try to work with our bodies and communicate with our bodies, love our bodies, and that way we can grow and get stronger. Now, first thing is, what is Epstein-Barr virus? Epstein-Barr virus was named after basically two researchers that basically identified the virus. It's Sir Anthony Epstein and Yvonne Barr. Now, this was back in the early 60s. So if you rewind, in the early 60s, there was a doctor named Dr. Burkett, and he was working on Ugandan children. And he found out that Ugandan children had what we know as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, or Burkitt's lymphoma. And he found that this lymphoma, basically there are these tumors or these solidified masses that are in the lymph nodes. They found that in the tumor cells of these Ugandan children, the tumor cells within the lymph nodes, Burkitt's lymphoma, they found out that there were these viruses, or what looked like to be viruses. So he found a high prevalence within the tumor cells that there are these evidences of possible viruses. Does that make sense? So he took samples back to London. The cells were shipped back to London. So when he went into the discussions, some people took to it, some people didn't, according to the history. But Sir Anthony Epstein, he found that it was very interesting to him. So he, with his research group, took it upon themselves to go investigate if there was a virus involved. And so with further investigation, he found out that there was a herpes virus that was inside the tumor cells. Did Epstein-Barr virus create the tumors? That's not the discussion I'm trying to have for today. What I am saying is that he found out that there was high amounts of these types of viruses within the tumor cells throughout the lymph nodes. Now, here's a kicker. When we talk about lymph nodes, we have to remember that lymph nodes are associated with a few glands. So let's recall, guys, basic biology. Lymph nodes are in the throat, right? You have the adenoids, which are the small lymph glands behind the nose, back in the nose, back where the mouth and the nose meet, or the nasal cavity and the oral cavity meet, right back there where you can feel like that snot build up. Then you have lymph nodes underneath the armpits, lymph nodes throughout the chest, lymph nodes behind the breastbone known as the thymus gland. There's also lymph nodes that go right through your hips and your inguinal area, so you could have the lymph nodes right down near your groin area. There's big lymph nodes behind the knees, some around the ankles, and one of the major ones is the appendix. These are all lymph tissue. And one of the major ones is behind the ear. So you have children that have those big lumps right behind the ears around the mastoids. So if you recall, this is lymph tissue. This is where the lymph nodes are basically filtering out lymph fluid. And this is a big carrying ground, or this is where B cells hang out. So B cells are certain types of immune cells that basically do what? They help your immune system get stronger. They can help signal or become memory B cells, so they can actually help your body remember viruses, so they go off and kill them. So you have B cells, T cells, and B cells are very good at training T cells. B cells are really good at training T cells to actually identify certain types of viruses or mold or yeast or certain types of infections to go after them and kill them. So if you can imagine, just picture in your head that you have these B cells that are hanging around in your lymph nodes, like your tonsils. So I don't want to be confusing. So you have these little B cells that are in the tissue of the tonsils, your tonsils being lymph glands. So that what they find out is that Epstein-Barr virus, once they make their way through your nasal or your oral cavity, because we talked about in the first video, they call it the kissing disease, mono. So remember that. So you get the Epstein-Barr virus through the nasal area when you breathe it in, or through the mouth, or whether it be saliva or kissing somebody that has it, or just through salivary exchange. And those viruses fit in very well. Their spikes fit in very well to the actual epithelial cells of the tonsils. It's like a perfect fit. It's a perfect match. And so they get into that area, and then they start to burrow their way. And so when they do, they'll burrow their way into the actual tonsil. And when they get into the tonsils, in a nutshell, this is what happens. They will attach to the B cells. And so what they're finding is that they attach to the B cells, right? They genetically attach themselves to your B cells, and they will dump their genetic material. The Epstein-Barr virus will attach to your B cells and download their information, squeeze their DNA into your B cells. And they will keep their genetic information in your B cells so that your cells will actually replicate them. We talked about that in the first video. Here's the kicker. Your body has their genetic material in there, but I got to read you this section from this book. Remember I told you about the Epstein-Barr virus solution? It's very, very interesting. Okay? So I hope I don't make this too long and too long-winded. Okay, this is one part. Okay, so we just learned that EBV uses your immune cells, especially the B cells. But it is smarter than just that. Our immune system knows when cells are damaged or infected with, and has processes in place that target those cells for destruction. So remember, it's in the B cells. So we should target those cells to destroy them because they're infected with the virus. In order to prevent that from happening, Epstein-Barr virus produces microRNAs, small RNA sections. MicroRNAs suppress alarm signals sent out by these infected cells, like the B cells, but also inhibit both CD4 plus and antiviral CD8 plus T cells as well. These are also parts of your immune system, their immune cells, from responding to these infected B cells. B cells are now induced to activate their growth program and trigger differentiation into memory B cells. When they are infected, they are released into the peripheral circulation. Okay, so what happens? Well, what does this really mean? EBV infects your B cells and turns off their self-terminating mechanism. Here's a quote. I am infected and therefore I will terminate myself to protect the rest of the body, which is a brilliant system. Now, the B cells are now sent out into various parts of your body, spreading via blood circulation, while new EBV viruses are being produced in them, waiting to burst out after the cells burst out open, called lysing. So they turn off the self-terminating mechanism. They inhibit other cells from reading their presence, so they won't kill the cell that they're inside of. Not only did the B cells lose the ability to self-terminate or to signal to the immune system that they are infected and should be killed, but now the EBV microRNA stalls other immune cells from being able to go after these B cells. The infected B cells now have become immortalized. They are EBV producing machines that spread all over and never terminate. This is what I love about this book. There's nutritional formulations to help you thrive. So that is why Epstein-Barr virus is so hard to kill. That's what makes it so difficult. Now, what are some of the nutrients, according to this book and according to research, that would allow your body to have the ability to increase the immune system, to strengthen it so well that you could possibly or you could strengthen the monitoring or the B cells' ability to express that there is an infection within the cell, within themselves, so they can be terminated, and also strengthen up the CD4 and the CD8. Remember those immune cells. What can we use to strengthen those cells to not be suppressed? What could we do to the B cells to actually strengthen them to actually show that they're not going to reduce the alarm signal? They're willing to be able to be terminated because they know it's better for the host. Well, back in the olden days, some practitioners that still practice nutrition, medical doctors said that they love to use different types of nutrition. And they said that during the research and basic pathology of Epstein-Barr, they addressed it with simple nutritional supplements. Now, we're not saying it cured everything, but they did say that when they used this, that they were seeing high amounts of basically reduction of splenomegaly, like the swollen spleen, the swollen lymph nodes. They were seeing the Epstein-Barr virus go into basically remission. So it was NAC, N-acetylcysteine, licorice, zinc, vitamin E, vitamin C, and selenium. So again, NAC, licorice, zinc, vitamin E, vitamin C, and selenium. Now, when you see this, that they were using simple nutrition, we're not saying it's the only thing that would help prevent Epstein-Barr or help clean it out, but they're using minerals and vitamins. If you look at the list, these are small examples. They do so much more, but vitamin E and C help increase basically the strength of the immune system. Of course, vitamin C does, increases heavily the immune system. And Dr. Pauling's work on vitamin C is glorious. And if you look at Dr. Pauling's work on vitamin C, you will be amazed. And vitamin E and C, they are very big components of increasing the energy of the cells through the electron transport system. They actually help your cells get stronger and faster and basically give them the strength to make more energy. That's what they do. Then you have selenium and you have zinc, and they both help increase the immune system. They are very good at not only increasing the immune system, but selenium and zinc help you with many other things. But selenium is really good for the thyroid. It helps strengthen up the stomach. It helps the body actually with serotonin production. So zinc and selenium are not just a big immune builders, but they have tons of different basically capabilities. In this case, though, we know that they are high movers and shakers when it comes to the whole electron transport system known as the Krebs cycle. They are very, very involved with the body's ability to create internal energy. And one of the biggest things we cannot forget is that when you're talking about selenium or zinc or NAC, is that your immune cells have mitochondria inside of them. Mitochondria are your power plants. They talk about the powerhouse. We talked about it before. But what happens is the viruses love to rob those mitochondria in your immune cells of energy. But if you start giving your cells energy, you want to basically douse the body with more of the nutrients so that you boost your own strength so you start killing off the infection. Some individuals say, well, if you keep boosting the energy of your cells, does that mean that the viruses will win? They'll actually get stronger. I've seen in my experience that if you keep increasing the amount of nutrients, that your body usually wins. You'll actually start to give your body an abundance of the nutrients that are needed, and you'll start sending a good alarm signal out to your other cells. Your cells will see the infected cells, and your own immune system will go eat up the bad ones, the bad cells, or the infected cells. And you'll also give enough selenium and zinc and enough vitamin E and C that those immune cells that are searching get stronger. That's the key. Remember, those are the cells that have not been infected by the virus yet. It's the B cells. So if you do a lot of vitamin E and C and selenium and zinc, I like magnesium. I like to throw magnesium in there, and NAC, licorice root, and we're going to talk about a couple herbs as well. You will increase the strength of the CD4 and the CD8 and of the T cells. 3 herbs come to mind, and I love that they mentioned in this book. They talked about astragalus, ashwagandha, and schisandra. My good friends, Dr. Leibowitz, both of them are such geniuses with herbs, but they have those as part of their protocols in Supreme Nutrition products. I can't mention them enough. Supreme Nutrition products, ashwagandha, astragalus, and schisandra. Now, astragalus is Chinese medicine's powerhouse. It's basically like the ultimate nutrient for helping increase the immune system, help kill off viruses, helps with the cold and flu season. Schisandra is one of the biggest ones to help with the liver. It helps kill off the liver. Helps kill off infections in the liver, cleanse the liver. It helps the liver detoxify gently. But if you take it too fast, it can get a little hairy if you're not too careful with schisandra. But it actually produces a natural antioxidant known as glutathione. It helps your liver tremendously. Ashwagandha is known for its sleep. It helps you with relaxation and sleep, and actually helps you give you energy when you wake up. So when you wake up, you get energy. When you go to sleep, it helps you rest better. But ashwagandha is really good with viral replication. I can't forget these other two. Those three, but I love olive leaf. Olive leaf will help prevent viral replication. We talked about that. And Chinese woad, W-O-A-D. It will help clean up viruses. So those herbs, especially the first three I mentioned, have been shown to strengthen up the CD4, the CD8, and the T cells. The reason I keep repeating it, guys, is because those are the cells that can basically get what? They get confused signals from the infected B cells. They are not getting this signal to tell them that there's something going on inside that B cell. The B cell's like wanting to basically be eaten up because they know that the B cell has that infection in there and it has to basically die for the good of the many. So giving nutrients to the cells, would that strengthen up the viruses? There could be some argument, and there's some microbiologists that probably could give an argument for that, and I would love to hear it. So I'm not discounting that. But my point is that the cells that are there to seek out and get signaled by the B cells to go destroy the cells that are injured, those are the ones we want to strengthen up. And that's what you can do. If you strengthen up those little seeker cells, you're going to find out that you'll kill off a lot of Epstein-Barr virus. You will train the T cells and the ones we just mentioned before I wear the names out. You will train them to look for Epstein-Barr virus. You will train them to look for the B cells that are infected because they get a glimpse. It's like getting the wanted ad. They go, oh, I know what that one looks like. I know what that cell looks like. It probably got one of those cells in there. So the reason I'm not saying it's that simple, I know many of you out there that have had Epstein-Barr virus or do have it right now. It's very tough. And many of you have tried many things and like you feel like there may not be any way out. But one of the things that we don't want to be discouraged is that don't give up. I know that people think, well, I've been doing it for a year, been a couple years. My mom's had Epstein-Barr virus most all of her life, and I worked on her the last 4 years. I still have some signals from her of Epstein-Barr, and I'm still working on it. Remember from the first podcast, they say one of your cells that have had replicating Epstein-Barr virus that goes dormant, right? That's going dormant, can produce almost 1 million of the Epstein-Barr virus cells. 1 million. And they get into your body and they go down and find another cell to infect. And if you've had it for 20 years, that's why it's so hard to get rid of. But if you can turn on your body's ability to find the infected cells and to identify Epstein-Barr, you have a really good chance of cleaning out the system. That's why whenever I clean out mycoplasma, Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus out of my own body, I'm going to tell you about homeopathics. Sorry. I've been doing a bladder cleanse, and side note, bladder cleanse, the bladder meridian, if you guys can hear me, the bladder 1 point's right on the inside of the nose, right up at the top of the bridge of the nose. And when I started cleaning out the bladder, I'm telling you, this thing sort of blew up. It was really fun. Just experiment with the laser therapy. Yeah. But I want us to look into realizing that cleaning off the infection, it could be right around the throat in the tonsil area. when we increase the memory or the body's capability of understanding which cells have Epstein-Barr virus and identifying what Epstein-Barr virus is, you're going to get your cells so used to it, they're going, okay, that's the problem. We got to go after it. And then the problem is the genetic material, the viruses can be deep within cells, and those B cells could be anywhere. That's why it takes a while. That's why I love using these herbals. And I say a minimum of 1.5 to 2 years with my patients. It's going to take me 1.5 to 2 years to get your levels looking good. That's why I always say find a good functional medicine practitioner that uses preferably not only the nutrients we just mentioned, but homeopathics. Really, that believes in homeopathics. I know we talked about this probably previously. You've seen my other podcast, but I want to give you hope. I use a company called DesBio, DesBio, and they are so gracious. I love DesBio, DesBio. There's other good companies, Picana, the Germans, Germany, Swiss, French, English. Even in the Asian countries, there are such brilliant homeopathic practitioners here in the States. And one of my goals was to be an old homeopathic doctor, like crazy, cool homeopathic practitioner up in the mountains somewhere. But all that to say is when we take a homeopathic, this one's for mycoplasma, which I show for. And what happens if you look into this box, if you can see on camera, it has a little calendar on the inside of the box, and it shows you what days to take a little sample liquid. And this is probably not even half a teaspoon, maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon of liquid in one of these little vials. And what these are homeopathic remedies that help strengthen your body to help go after, for in this case, mycoplasma in this box, but there are some with Epstein-Barr. So they're there to help strengthen your immune system, to help with the viral fighting capabilities. I can go into the whole realm of homeopathics, which I love. There's Homocords, and there's those that just help with symptoms. But there are some homeopathics that literally are geared and programmed to help you find the actual protein codes of the virus, the frequency of them. But all that to say is whenever I take this, like it was for Epstein-Barr, when you take that small vial and you put it in your mouth, that's what I do. And I'll take one of these and I succuss it. So usually my magic number is 3. I succuss it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And it shakes, it gets sudsy. I open it up, put it in my mouth, and you can let it sit under your tongue for a minute to 2 minutes. I like to let it sit on there for about a minute, and then I just roll, like basically use my tongue and switch around my cheeks and my gums, because I want the liquid to get around my gums, my cheeks, to allow the frequency to get into my body. The frequency, because these are charged with the energy of certain plants and certain constituents that will help your body, in this case, look out for the frequency of Epstein-Barr virus, the tissues that it could be hiding in. It has frequencies that help generate strength in your immune cells to help them identify Epstein-Barr virus. So there's a conglomerate of frequencies in these vials. And what happens is that your body uses the vial like a tuning fork. And I hope I'm not getting confusing. You put it in your mouth, you let it sit there, you put it in your mouth, you rub around the gums. What is it acting like? It's acting like a magnet. When that gets into your tissues, you are letting that get into your cells, that liquid, and it's emitting a frequency like a radar. Doop, doop. You like that sound? And when that radar beacon is going out, it's pulsating. It's giving a frequency. And what that does is a couple things. Like attracts like in homeopathy. If you have a homeopathic remedy that has the frequency of certain Epstein-Barr virus constituents or the tissue that it lives in your body, it will wake up the Epstein-Barr virus DNA. Those that are hiding, it'll wake them up. It's a frequency specific only to that virus, and it jostles that virus, and that virus wakes up. and it energizes that virus. It's like, somebody's calling my name. Who is that? Wait, somebody's calling my name. Someone's calling me. Wait. Huh, okay. It listens harder. You take another homeopathic remedy a few days later. And, it first gets it up. It gets up and it's like, oh, I thought I heard something. Well, I'm going to go back to sleep. Then he hears it again a few days later. What is that? Well, I'm going to go look out the window. I thought I heard my name. Third or fourth vial. Wait, somebody's definitely outside just calling my name. So I'm going to go out there. So somebody's definitely out there and they're calling my name, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find out what's going on. They go outside the cell. And you've been taking the homeopathics and the other nutrition, and your strengthened immune cells go out and find those that come outside the cell, clean them up, kill them off, clean them up, and let the body put them in the lymph to go clean them out and poop them out, cleanse them out through the blood, through the kidneys, to the liver, to the poop. Does it make sense? They're magnets. That's what I love about homeopathy. Some people say, well, I used some straight homeopathy. I like to use homeopathy with herbs and nutrition. And once you train your body to go after these viruses, it'll happen in phases. You feel really good, and all of a sudden you feel a little tired, a little fatigued. Why? Because your body is trained like a soldier to go after the infected cells and to identify when they pop out into the bloodstream. So there'll be times when there's a pocket that comes up and you have to go after and get it. Now, that's the beauty of homeopathy. And I cannot stress this enough. I'm not just plugging DesBio. I'm saying many homeopathic companies, if you find some homeopathic company that's really good at helping with frequencies and conditions that are related to certain infections, and you have a doctor, a functional medicine doctor or integrative medicine doctor that respects homeopathy, I think you hit gold. I cannot tell you how many times I've had patients, seriously guys, that have Lyme disease, parasite, yeast, mold, Epstein-Barr virus. I've given them so many nutrition and so many supplements. They do really well. Don't get me wrong. They do really well. Do acupuncture on them, do a lot of body work, a lot of kinesiology. They do great. And they'll have a little relapse. But the patients that are really in the last few years that I started off with homeopathy, when I just started off training their body to identify the infections, they literally need less nutrition and less herbals because their body got strengthened to just look for the infection. It's recognition. So I'm not saying neglect any of the nutrition. I like taking good nutrition. I'm just saying I think that you should try to incorporate homeopathy, increase your body's memory capability. I like to basically relate it to neurology or the body to technology. And when we say it's a magnet, it's basically your body's ability. It's almost like doing a virus scan in a computer. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to find out which areas are infected with the virus, which parts of your hard drive. And then when you find it, you could either replace the hard drive or you do something to help clean it out. Same capability, same technology. So now, remember, here are some of the main lesser known symptoms. And I don't want to change gears, but I'm saying that when you start to see this, when you start cleaning it out, some of the lesser known symptoms can start to come up to the surface. You could get a little bit of neurological or cognitive symptoms. You can get some brain fog, a little bit of extra memory loss. You get a little dizziness. Sometimes a little anxiety or depression come to the surface. When you start using the right nutrition, some of these small things could come to the surface, possibly. What I found that most of the time is that most of the symptoms do not come. They actually improve. But I want you not to be discouraged. If any of those come up to the surface, it's because you are pulling stuff out of your cells. So do not be discouraged. It can be helped. It can be healed. And you just have to find a practitioner that's supportive of you, that understands you, and that is willing to walk in this journey with you. And for all of you that have suffered I truly mean this with all my heart. I know it hurts. I know it's hard. But if you can find somebody that understands you and that's gentle and kind and that can understand you the way you look through life, like your emotions, that's another double gold aspect of a good practitioner. So remember that, guys. Let's look over it. Astragalus, ashwagandha, schisandra. Don't forget olive leaf and woad, W-O-A-D. These are my herbs I love. Vitamins and nutrients like NAC or N-acetylcysteine, vitamin E and C, selenium. You can use licorice and zinc. Those are just to name a few. But you saw in my last video some of the ones that have just come up that you can clean out. But I want you to know the mechanism, why this happened, what's the history behind it. And that's why you start to see so many individuals that have lymph node issues, because the B cells get tricked. That's why when you see herpetic viruses, cytomegalovirus, Epstein-Barr virus, herpes simplex virus, HHV virus, HHV6, roseola virus, there's so many. Why does it affect the lymph nodes? Why are people having all these congested lymph nodes? Always these issues with congested, strained, puffy lymph nodes around certain areas of the body. Because they infected the B cells and they tricked them. But I just showed you the way that you can help untrick yourself. So check out the Homeopathics. We're going to put that into the show note. I'm going to give my producer the list of nutrients, and it will be good for you to look into, to research. And don't forget to look at Dr. Kasia Kynes. I hope I can get her on a podcast, but it's called the Epstein-Barr Virus Solution. It's a great book. So everybody, I hope that was good. I know it was a long podcast, but I wanted to see what you guys think. And if you like this kind of information, please like and subscribe. Or if you know somebody that had this kind of problem, please send this podcast to them. Hit the bell that you remember every time a new podcast comes up to the surface. And if anybody wants to go dig deeper, what I usually do is take these podcasts and I try to discuss them on my membership the following week. So the following week, I try to take a deep dive into the solo podcast that I have weekly. We just love to get into that. And I want the podcast or the membership to be a big meeting place where there's community and there's love and happiness. And we can discuss some hard medical, health-related subjects. So guys, until the next time, I'm Dr. Chris Motley here with the Ancient Health Podcast. Really appreciate you guys. Have a great day. Bye.